You need to YouTube some of his. Sit down with Debbie and watch
What's
some
his
of
name?
his. Nate Bargatze. We'll text you a couple of it, but he's super funny. Does some great, and he's got one of those. I was talking with Rick Burgess about this. He has that delivery where you could repeat exactly what he says, but there's no way it would be even close to as funny as him. He just, and his dad actually opened for him when we went to see him, and so his dad was like telling jokes and like doing a little bit of these magic tricks, and it was really cool. And his dad actually ended his presentation with a gospel. Sort of like we're designed by our Creator. It's only through Him we have hope. And he gets off the stage. Nate walks onto the stage and he says, "Yeah, that's not my dad. I have no idea who that is. We picked him up off the street, gave him $100. I think he's homeless." And the night was just got even funnier from there. Anyway, that was like a couple of months ago. But yeah, half the church was there. So hey, good morning. Let's talk about something real here, right?
Yeah.
You got a big. When are you heading out to Las Vegas?
Thursday afternoon. We leave at 1:30 and get there at 3 something, which is funny because you're passing all these time zones. Going out there.
You get there earlier than you left.
Yeah. It's really kind of funny. It's a 4-hour flight, which I'm not looking forward to.
But it's nice because you guys have a private jet.
Yeah. Creflo Dollar has loaned us his. Yeah, that is funny.
So heading out to Vegas. So that was your joke yesterday that made me laugh so hard.
Southwest.
Yeah, well,
I don't even get an assigned seat.
Do what we got to do. Yeah, well, you have to pay to get in the A boarding now.
Yeah.
It's I remember back in the day.
They're fixing to assign seats. Southwest announced like a day or two ago.
For real?
Yeah, they're gonna go. They've lost money this year, and of course it is so crazy now. If you'd like to sit in the 3 seats behind first class, it's this price, and if you want to sit in the this behind that, it's this, and we even have special seating next to the bathroom in the back, and so they charge you different.
Oh my gosh!
It's just really a racket, honestly.
Well, you don't normally
flying isn't bad enough.
You don't normally fly Southwest, though.
No, almost always. It's either Delta or American. Normally Delta, because we're here at Atlanta. You have to go through Atlanta.
Yeah.
But it was cheaper. And I'm going out for a conference. I'm preaching on Saturday night conference, and then Sunday morning for church. And it's a younger guy who was at Southwestern working for the school, and I guess he was getting his MDiv at the time. But he helped me get all registered and set up and everything for the PhD program. And I recommended him to the church, and they hired him.
Wow.
So he's turned around and said, "Hey, I'd love for you to come out and preach." So we're gonna go out there. And a week from today is our 45th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations, Pastor.
So I'm taking my wife. It's a 45th wedding anniversary. Honey, what would you like to do? You will never guess what she wants to do out there, and I'm taking her to the ugliest man in music. She wants to go see Rod Stewart.
Really?
Yes. Who is turning 80.
Golly. Wow. So, and he has his team of plastic surgeons. Do they appear with him on stage, or are they just back?
When he comes out on his walker and his oxygen tank. But she wants to see him, so I said, okay.
Now, I thought that you were going to like the royal family or Princess Diana's clothing exhibit.
I'm going to let her do all that stuff she wants to do.
And you're going to do your best to keep her away from the blackjack tables.
Yeah.
Make sure she didn't play too much roulette.
I saw a guy one night lose $5,000 in just a matter of a couple of minutes on a blackjack table. You couldn't pay me.
Well, you always count the cards, so you've never lost any money there.
No, because I've never played. If I'd lost $5, it would just make me mad.
I've never been in a casino before. I feel like I need to.
It's pretty fascinating.
Well, I know that there's no clocks or anything. Did you just go and like walk around to see what was going on?
Yeah. You stay in some of the hotels, and they've got these big
you have
casinos
to walk
in
through
there.
it, yeah.
And you. One night we were out there. It was a couple of us, and we were watching these guys back in this baccarat. Is what they were playing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what that is other than I know the name of it, but they were back there, and he said the stakes was up over $1 million.
Wow.
And I'm just sitting there thinking, how you just gamble away $1 million?
That is wild.
You know, what kind of money do you have, number one? And, you know, I just like I said, if I lost $5, it would just, I'd be so mad at myself I wouldn't have with it. That has no appeal to me.
Well, the interesting thing is that they've used, like, as they've developed all of these casino games, they've learned so much about human psychology and how to like get the dopamine loop going.
Yeah. Well, we were talking to one of the police officers that was, you know, kind of standing in there, and got to know him. He was from Georgia, and was just talking to him, and he was the one telling us about the guys back there playing baccarat.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, they fly these guys in. He said a lot of them, they fly in from Japan. They'll send a plane, pick them up, bring them in, put them up for free because they're in there gambling away, you know, $1 million. And I just thought, that's just, wow. Yeah.
You know, they've taken, I've read a lot about this. Well, not a lot. I've read a couple articles about it. They were long articles, though, about how, like, a lot of the guys that design those silly iPhone games, they came, or they've been consulted by the people that design like slot machines, that sort of thing, because that's what keeps people coming back to Candy Crush and all these other things and paying
It's
money.
funny when you land in Las Vegas and you get off the plane, they've got slot machines right there in the airport.
In the airport?
Yeah, as you're getting off the plane, there's a bank of them right off there.
Do they still let people smoke in the casinos? Is that the last place
that
on
I
earth you
don't-
can still smoke indoors?
That
Asking
I
for a
don't
friend.
know. I don't know.
Joanna, get those numbers on my desk. I want to know. I want to figure. I want to know that, like, because you know, smoking is. I still
Nearly
can't.
all casinos in Las Vegas continue to allow smoking.
So you can still smoke indoors at a casino in Las Vegas. Could you have? I'm just curious about this. Could you have imagined a world where smoking would be so ostracized? Like, because when you were a kid, I'm sure everybody smoked.
Everybody smoked.
Everybody.
You'd stand at the Baptist church and half the deacon body was out the back door smoking in between services, which was a crying shame. It really wasn't a bad. I'm glad that they've done away with a lot.
It really is just so bad for you. But it's just amazing that in that short a time, like, sort of this revolution has happened. You're like, no, it's bad for you, don't do it. That sort of thing. Yeah, I remember, I tell my kids that, well, my kids don't even really know any about this yet, but I can remember going to Chuck E. Cheese and seeing people like the dad smoking in Chuck E. Cheese with his kid, holding a baby, smoking, you know. It was just a different era back there.
It was.
Late 80s, early 90s
really
for me.
was. You know, we'd get in a restaurant and Debbie would say, or Mama would say, we got to move. I can't sit next to this table where these people are smoking. Europe is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everywhere you go and sit in Europe, you can be sure they're going to come sit down beside you and start smoking.
You just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Being in China, it was similar to that. You know, and the problem was, or the funny part there was, if you even looked at somebody that was smoking, they'd be like, "Oh, you need one too?"
Yeah.
you know, they're very generous. Yeah, don't mind if I do. Thank you.
I just need some coffee.
Yeah, that's right. Here I am.
Just coffee.
Coffee will do fine. You want to talk about this message yesterday? What a fun day that was.
What a fun time it was. Yeah.
You were on fire yesterday.
Well, you know, and I had no idea how long. I know the first service, I was just dumping the whole barn of hay on everybody, but I didn't know, and I didn't. Anyway, I tried to moderate it and bring it back down some in the second service.
Now, you don't normally go there in terms of like cultural events, but there was was there something like the Spirit got you? Something boiled over.
Yes, the whole Olympic opening thing, and then just to watch the responses of people. On one guy made a response I thought was very good, and so I didn't retweet. What do you do on Facebook? You repost it?
You share it?
Yeah, share it, whatever you do with it. I did it on Facebook because I thought he had a great post. And then you've got guys that are coming out, don't you dare say something wrong about them. Christians, Christ would have had them at dinner. He would have sat down,
wow.
and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking,
no.
I think maybe you might have gone a little too far on that, trying to correct everybody on it. And then, the other side, oh no, that's not what they were doing. Well, it's clearly what they were doing. And even the guy dressed up as a girl who had the halo around his head, hey, that's always a tip-off.
Yeah, Christological kind of thing.
So, he came out and said that, this is what I did and this is why I did it, and that's exactly what we were doing. We were portraying. And then now the French have come out to, well, we're sorry. No, they're not sorry. The French are never sorry.
Now, they're not doing the same thing to you on Facebook that they did to you on Twitter.
No. And I
Okay.
am not, listen, Lord knows, I hate to bring it up publicly. I am not responding to that stuff.
Okay.
So, but I've read some of it and I thought, well, you could respond. And I thought, no, you will not respond.
Yeah.
But I thought the guy went just a tad over the top.
We were watching, because I've always loved the Olympics, especially because I was like 10 years old, and then the Olympics were in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and we were like all in. We were watching everything. It was so cool. So I've always enjoyed it. I was so excited to show this to my kids, and we're watching some of the opening ceremonies, and my eyes just keep getting wider and wider. Like, oh, this is really.
They had the menage a trois that they
Oof,
did. You keep
that was-
wondering, why do you do this stuff?
that
We're at a
was-
sporting event. We don't care about your
It made me sad.
sexual predilections. We don't care about why don't you keep it on what the subject is about?
Yeah, I did. Well, it was. We ended up having some good discussions with the kids just about okay, so here in the Olympic ceremony, the opening ceremony, it is a display of these things that the world lifts up. These are the things that the world desires and goes after, and all of it is present. You think it would just be like some kind of over-the-top pursuit of sport, but no, they're going to include all of this other debauchery and sexuality and that sort of thing. So I guess
Which has no place in any of it. So
no, it doesn't. It's interesting though. I learned this past week that how for some people, whether they realize it or not, how the Olympics are like a religion of sorts. Because they feel like they're continuing in this tradition of what happened. Where was it? The ancient Greeks.
Yeah.
And so they're like, no, we're keeping that going. Like the flame, in a sense, the Olympic flame, in a sense, they're bearing a torch for this religion of pure sport. It's just very interesting thought that I hadn't
which a
thought
lot
of
of
before.
people worship in America.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can
it's
say
pretty,
that again.
pretty clear, And you're right. Back you talked about, we were talking last night about this, and someone pointed out if you went back to the Olympics in Atlanta, do you remember the opening scene? I didn't remember this, but they brought up and said where they were beating the drums and they were calling on the Greek gods.
Really?
Yeah, they were calling on the Greek gods. It's interesting how you can go back and look and see where you begin to get off track little by little by little,
Right.
and then you end up with this blasphemous display of transgenderism portraying the Lord's table.
Yeah, that was so sad.
And then you throw Bacchus in there, the god of wine. Well, what was Jesus doing? He gave the cup, this cup.
Yes.
Is the new covenant in my blood, So let's throw the Greek god Bacchus in there on top of it and say this is a great big drinking drunk fest. And anyway, I'll get off of that. So, but I did. It would be very easy, and there's some guys, and I won't mention their name, you can see them on television, who come out and they just do a running commentary every week on everything that has happened
That's
that week.
not healthy. That's
And you're tempted to do that, to just kind of
course.
speak to the culture and say, look at what is happening. Do you have any reaction? That's what I want to know. Do you have any reaction? Does this cut you to the quick? Do you feel in any way emboldened to stand up and take a stand for the things of Christ? Or have you just accommodated it and that's just the way it is today, kind of deal?
Well, I think all of us had some kind of reaction to
There
it.
was a lot of reaction
What
to
does
that.
well? What does the? I mean, I guess what then does the course of action after that? What is that supposed to look like? Is it just
Well,
prayer?
I think that's one thing. I think the other thing, there are times when Christians need to let their voice be heard. Now, we don't do, and that was the thing, they don't do this to the Muslim, they don't do this to the Buddhist, they don't do this to the whatever, they do it to Christians. Why? Because this word right here is extremely convicting. And the Holy Spirit brings conviction, and the world can't stand it.
Yeah.
Darkness does not love light at all.
Yeah, so they try to suppress the light as much as they can.
Yeah.
Yes, well, the word remains powerful. I mean, like the word continually is proven right, and sometimes we see the rightness, the precision of the word just in the sin of what
You
we
go
see
back
in
and
other
look
people.
at the history of France, and I won't do this but a second.
Okay.
You get back to 1789.
Yeah, the French Revolution.
Washington is elected the first president of this
Yes.
country. 1789.
But this
that
is
French-
right after the French had
Yes.
helped them in the
Yes.
Revolutionary War.
And they, there's a lot of why the revolution starts in France. One of them is that they went broke helping us get our freedom.
Oh.
They saw our freedom, our liberty, and they wanted in a semblance of that.
Interesting.
Whereas our founding fathers, regardless of what revisionist historians say, were
Christian people.
Christian worldview,
Christian worldview, that's a good way
biblical
to put it,
worldview. Some were deist,
Sure, Thomas Jefferson, the most famous.
but some were not. Washington was not deist, if you read anything about him. Anyway, you've got that taking place. Then in 1791 or 92, 1791, 92, they begin to kill
Right, all the
or
royals.
imprison all of the priests of the Catholic
They started
Church.
with the priests. Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
And of course, then they're beheading everybody, and you come to 1793, and they go into Notre Dame, and they tear the altar out, and they put in an altar of reason, and they take a prostitute, and they remove Mary, and they put her up on the throne, and crown her as the Queen of France, and then the whole place is thrown into a wild orgy in Notre Dame. Now, this is the way
Right.
the French Revolution goes. And then you compare that to what had happened in America, and you compare it to the English Revolution, which really was a revolution moving away from the Catholic Church, moving to Protestantism.
Yes.
And it was ruled by those who held tightly to Scripture. And it was vastly different.
And you can see to this day how that's
The
shaped
results,
the different cultures.
yes, you can see to this day the result of that.
That is, yeah. Those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it. Yeah, it seems like.
Or to make just dumb decisions. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read more about the French Revolution. Obviously, the most famous image, of course, is what is it? Is it Marianne or whoever? She's holding up the flag and leading the. I don't know when that one's from. That was the cover of a Coldplay album, which that was Is this what are you doing?
Yeah.
This the French national anthem?
no.
Oh.
I was doing the thing from Les Mis.
Oh
You know,
yes,
where
of
she's
course.
up on the wall and they've got the flag and they're.
Oh yeah, wow, yeah. We
Waving
could
back
do,
and forth.
we'll get Joanna up here. We'll sing some Les Mis to close the thing today.
yeah.
That'll be great.
Bring him home.
It's just when I was thinking, bring him home. Yeah, that would be. Wow, I've never seen that whole show. Isn't that awful? I've never seen the whole thing. I've
Oh, my
listened to all the
stars.
highlights. I've had to sing so much.
I
We
bet
sing
I've
so
seen
much
it a
of that
half
in
a dozen
college.
times to where if Debbie says, "Let's go see Les Mis again," please let's
You're gonna take a nap.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you better hope that it's not having a residency in Las Vegas while you're out
No,
there.
no,
Who
no,
knows
no,
what
no.
could happen.
I hope not.
Well, happy 45th anniversary either way.
Yeah, thank you.
We've
Thank
had. I hope that you guys have fun out there. So next week, I guess we could talk about this real quick. Next week, you've got me preaching,
You're preaching.
which I am not leading the music.
Are
though.
you not? Who's
led
going to
it.
lead the music?
Well,
Joanna?
I'm gonna. Charles is actually gonna do some of it. Charles Lilly. So he's got.
Oh,
He's
okay.
gonna obviously. He's read scripture and done different things for us. So I'm gonna start things off, and then I'm going to hand it off to him, and then I'll be up there to preach. We got too many
What are
good
you going to preach
musicians.
on? Do you know?
I'm gonna do Mark chapter 7, where
Oh,
Jesus
good.
Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, where he says, you're a bunch of hypocrites because you teach as commandments the traditions of men. I've been thinking about that a lot. So I'm gonna tell because last year when you
You
had
nicely set aside the commandments of God for your traditions.
yeah. That's the
Boy.
thing. Everybody does that. You do it in the church. You do it in your life. There's a lot of application there.
That'll be good.
I hope so.
I'll have
It's
to.
been enriching
I'll
to
have
study
to
it.
try to zoom in. Y'all will be 2 hours ahead of me.
Something like that. Yeah, you're out on the
Yeah.
western time zone.
Yeah. But I'm preaching that morning too.
Yeah.
They're doing an odd thing. They're doing 2 things. They've got a question and answer period with me for some reason in the church before I ever preach.
Wow.
And I don't know what the deal is, but that'll be, those are always fun for me.
I guess you better study up, maybe lawyer up. Who knows what they're going to ask?
No, I don't know.
Who knows what they're going to come at
But
you with?
great guy, Adam Millette out there.
Are you going to be able to see any of the Valleydale partners while you're there
Yeah,
too?
we're taking them out Thursday night.
Oh, great,
The
great.
group of them, we're taking out Thursday night, going to be with them, go see what they're doing, that kind of deal. Yeah.
There was one more thing I was going to. Maybe it'll come to me later on. Well, make sure and watch or have Debbie watch the sermon or something. Make sure I don't say anything heretical. I'll try not to have too much fun at your expense. It'll be a.
I'm
it'll be
expecting it. I'm big in it. My shoulders are broad. I can take it.
Amen to that. Well, so yesterday, I don't even know what time it is. We got the clock is covered up.
10:30.
Yeah, okay. Wow,
That was a hint right
what a
there.
brisk 2 hours it's been. Yeah, so I think Pastor and I were both secretly hoping that we wouldn't have to talk about the message
Well,
yesterday. But so
what can I say?
you uttered one of the most feared phrases from the pulpit, which is, "Please, everyone, open your Bibles to the Song of Solomon."
Yeah.
There's people that are excited by that. Most people are just deathly afraid.
Yeah.
So you said that, and you all, and I guess I'm more interested. I think people can listen to the message where you gave some helpful marital advice. But the thing that I think I'm even more interested in is like this contextually in Ephesians. Like he has these in my mind, a very simple word to the women, but then such a long word to the men right after that.
It is pretty lengthy. He goes into quite a bit of detail there for husbands.
But I could almost feel like you having to struggle against some of this, like in our culture, like a man giving even a word to a woman.
Yeah.
It's just like, it feels like it sucks the air out of the room
Yeah.
because like you're not allowed to do that.
Well,
like
the
Paul's not allowed to do
whole
that.
point that I wanted to make is every single one of you out there that call yourself Christian is going to have to determine whether or not you're going to live in your marriage this way. The last 80 years, almost 80 years, we have lived with a very liberal, modern interpretation of marriage, and we have seen the devastation in the home and the family, and it gets worse and worse and worse. So are you going to double down and just do what the culture says, or are you going to have some common sense and some spiritual sense and say, you know what, this is a better way for us to live? And the whole thing with submission of a wife to, listen, there are times I submit to my wife.
Of course.
I take her advice. I listen to what she says. I do. I try to always do what it is that she wants to do. For example, go listen to that Rod Stewart. So I'll go and I'll put a smile on, and if he sings the Motown song, I'll be happy.
Okay.
But some people have this concept of a husband is barking orders and talking down to and berate. You got another problem there. That's not the issue of submission. You got a bully is what you got.
Well,
And so don't confuse being a bully with submitting to your husband. Because if you submit to your husband, it should be that your husband is never going to do something or would never want to do something that is going to belittle, demean, castigate, ridicule, put you down.
I feel like, and you tell me if this is wrong, there's, for every man out there, every husband that's a bully,
Yeah.
there's like 10 men that are
Never
passive.
heard of.
Well, they're
Yes.
passive,
Yes.
and they
Yes.
don't, and they also don't follow
Do anything.
Well, they don't walk in God's command to be a leader in the family.
Listen, in this book, the Toxic War on Masculinity
Nancy
by
Pearcey.
Nancy R. Pearcey.
Yeah.
Brilliant woman, great writer.
Yes, she is excellent.
Great book. She makes the statement in the book that the most harmful marriage is a cultural Christian. When the man is a cultural Christian. You got lost guys who do better
Yes, right.
than culturally Christian husbands.
What does she
In
say?
other words, just a husband that is liberal, takes no
Oh.
spiritual leadership, does nothing, and yet calls himself a Christian. What a horrible example to set before kids.
Yeah, well, and not to mention your wife.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I feel like that's got to be wrapped up to some degree in like Paul, like there's a sense in which Paul is already speaking to the men, because if he's saying to the women you must be in submission to your husband, the men have got to perk up their ears and say, well, I guess I better have something worth submitting to. I guess I better have some idea of what to do.
You would think that would have the impact, that would be the outcome.
I didn't really think of that until just now, but that's something that makes sense. But that's, even saying those words, Pastor, feels so strange. Like this is the culture that I've been raised in. Like what you were saying, the idea that men are stupid, men are buffoons, men are not to be trusted. Any act of masculinity is in itself toxic. Like this is just what feel like I've absorbed in my nearly 40 years of life.
Which is sad. And now you've
Yeah.
got a young boy.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to rear that boy in the right kind of way, but we've got a whole generation of little boys that are being reared, stripped of anything of masculinity,
That was one of the strongest points you made yesterday.
which is extremely disturbing. What's even more disturbing is now you have all these, and it happens, you see it because it happens in Hollywood, all of these Hollywood parents who now, this is the big thing, and it's going to reflect on me. Oh, I've got a 4-year-old boy who now identifies as a girl. You've got to be kidding me.
Well, it's sad
And,
more than anything.
and yet it casts so much light on the parent that they embrace it
Right.
because they love the attention. Oh,
Right.
what a wonderful parent you are because you've already discovered and you're leading your boy or girl to switch their gender. We're in a horrible place.
Yeah, well, it's more
I'm
than
going to tell you, we're in a horrible place.
yeah. It's scary, and it's something we got to pray about. It's more than just attention. It's people longing for acceptance.
Yeah.
And they've
They're searching in life for an answer.
well, they've divorced themselves from this idea that there's a loving God that already accepts them if they will come in repentance. So that they've invalidated that idea, and so our hearts still yearn for that. And so
They
they'll look for
worship
it
the
anyway.
creature more than the creator.
Yes.
I want to do what I want to do. I think this is going to make me happy. Well, it's not. It will not make you happy. And there's going to be a rash, there already is, of these people who are suing now.
Yeah.
Parents and, there's always a backlash. There are always those who said, man, that was a horrible decision. How could they have done this to me? Let me make this decision like that. I don't know. I know what the answer is. The answer is for Christ to come back.
Well, I know you and me pray for this a lot. It's just revival.
Yes.
If you look back at the cultural what was happening in England for years and years, and the United States before these revivals, these great awakenings. So I'm going to continue to pray in faith that can happen. I don't want to just like resign myself that this is all just going to completely fall apart. It might, but
Well, that's the problem now. It's all falling apart.
Yeah.
And they're just walking around and trying to exist in a fallen, broken world. That's why I said that at the beginning. We just live in an incredibly broken world.
And just to illustrate that, you're heading off to Las Vegas. Vegas,
Yes.
baby, Vegas. Sin City.
Yeah, it is. I guess.
You
You
can't-
know,
you
I
can't-
don't participate in any of that. There's some good spots and all like that.
Sure.
We're planting a church out there.
Obviously, they need Jesus.
I've
out
had
there.
the opportunity to go out there and preach at their state convention a number of times, and I love it because all their musicians,
They're Native American, right?
well, no, all their musicians there are in the shows.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, like, you know, those two girls right there, they're backup singers for Celine Dion, and
Oh, yeah.
those over there, he plays the drums for Rod Stewart, and he, you know,
Yeah.
they do, and they're all saved, and they're all Christian, and they are excellent musicians.
In
So
the
you
world,
get
not of the world.
Yeah, you get excellent music in the churches out there.
We didn't talk about the Celine. That was the most redeeming part of the opening ceremony to me was Celine. That was incredible.
That's what my wife. I went to bed before she sang, and I haven't watched it since. But yeah,
It was a
she has an
tearjerker.
incredible voice, does
Oh,
she not?
It was just kind of like she's singing in French. She's literally standing on the Eiffel Tower. I'm like, is there a more French thing in the
Yeah.
world?
Isn't she French Canadian?
Yeah, she's from Kenyatta.
Yeah.
So anyway, Canada. Why did I do that, Pastor? You know, I had to tell my son yesterday. We were watching. What were we watching? We were watching the diving last night because I'm trying to show the kids a little bit of the Olympics. And son was like, you know, he's watching it like he watches football. I think I'm going to cheer for Australia. I was like, power down, son. You can't watch this the same way you watch college football. There's only one option. You cheer for the US of A. He was like, okay, Dad, I got it. And then, of course, I caught Lauren cheering for the Romanians. I was like, stop it. Anyway. Hey, this has been fun. Thank you for joining us on the sermon recap, if that's still what we call this podcast. And I'll see you. Oh, Joanna wants to show
We're
us
gonna keep
something.
rolling because I realized.
Is
the
this Les
perfect-
Mis?
No, this is the perfect way to introduce Pastor Mac to
Oh,
Nate
Washington.
Bargatze.
Do you want to have a reaction video of him
Yes,
watching
he's gonna
this?
keep rolling
So
it.
this is going to be the Washington Stream SNL skit, and Pastor's going to watch this. This is Nate Bargatze on
Okay.
SNL, and you are going, I pray that you love this as much as everyone else does. Oops, wrong way.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen this?
Yes.
How will we ever win this war?
That is hilarious. Is this the guy?
Yes, that's him.
Washington. Sit, please.
I think this guy right here is just a hoot. Is he not?
Cal Williams.
Of our own. A new nation. Where we choose our own laws. Here, said sir. Choose our own leaders. Yes, sir. And choose our own systems of weights and measures.
That is so crazy.
Weights and measures, sir? Yes. Because I dream of that one day. Our proud nation will measure weights in pounds, and that 2,000 pounds shall be called a ton. And what would 1,000 pounds be called, sir? Nothing. Because we will have no word for that.
Seems like we should have a word for 1,000 pounds, sir.
And yet we won't. Because we are free men. And we will be free to measure liquids and liters and milliliters. But not all liquids, only soda, wine, and alcohol. Only those, sir. Yes. Because for milk and paint, we will use gallons, pints, and quarts, God willing.
God willing.
How many liters are in a gallon, sir?
Nobody knows.
He just walks away.
Sir, in this new country, what plans are there for men of color such as I?
Distance will be measured in inches, feet. 12 inches to a foot.
12 feet to a yard.
If it were only so simple. 3 feet to a yard.
And how many yards to a mile?
Nobody knows.
Okay, well, how many feet to a mile?
5,280.
Of course.
He is a nut.
Let's confess, it feels a little complicated, sir. Why not use meters and kilometers?
We will, soldier. But only in certain unpopular sports like track and swimming.
Unpopular sport.
For popular sports like football, we will use yards.
football,
He looks
sir?
like Jared.
Yes.
Yeah, he
It's a
does.
sport where you throw a ball with your hands.
So in football, there is no kicking?
There's a little kicking.
A little kid.
This is great too.
Kick the ball to get points.
How many points, sir?
Sometimes 1 and sometimes 3.
Very confused, sir.
Do not worry. For our new nation, we will have rulers with 2 sets of numbers. Inches on one side, centimeters on the other.
So we can see where they line up.
Yes, except that they don't line up and they never will. Liberty, son, liberty.
Just keeps going.
The slaves, sir. What of them?
You asked about the temperature.
I did not.
I just stared.
We should have 2 different unrelated scales of temperature. One of them will make sense to the entire world, and the other will be super random. Our great nation will use the random one.
What is the scale called, sir?
Fahrenheit,
Spell that for me.
impossible. But one day, if we are brave, we'll get rid of the U and a lot of British words like color and armor. But by God, we will keep the British U in the word glamour.
Only glamour, sir?
This thing is
okay.
relentless. It just keeps going and going. I think my favorite is where it's
Yeah,
so
I
we
will.
can
I'll
see
come
where
out.
they line up. Yes, except they don't and they never